This is Scott Bakula, and you're listening to the Quantum Leap Podcast.
Theorizing that one could time travel within his own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and vanished. He awoke to find himself trapped in the past, facing mirror images that were not his own, and driven by an unknown force to change history for the better. His only guide on this journey is Al, an observer from his own time, who appears in the form of a hologram that only Sam can see and hear. And so Dr. Beckett finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
Welcome to the Quantum Leap Podcast, everyone. I'm Christopher DeFilippis.
I'm Allison Pregler.
And I'm Matt Dale.
And today we are bringing you another update on the Quantum Leap reboot, namely the characters that will be featured in the new show. And there are also some reported story elements. Matt, I didn't realize that until I was scouring your site for information. So I'm very interested to hear about these things, right? So maybe we should back up. I just want to first and foremost, give props to some people who broke this information before us. First goes to show.com. I guess they're a podcast. I don't know what they are, to be honest with you, but they brought out this list, and Matt thought it was totally pants. And I thought it was totally pants too, based on Matt's reaction.
Pants.
I've been telling everyone, no, it's not right. And I did some digging into that hashtag show, and there were people all over the internet for the last few years saying, yeah, they do clickbait. Like, and it looks like clickbait. It's rubbish. So, yeah, I've been rubbishing it everywhere.
Yeah, but then, lo and behold, there was someone who we consider credible who came forward and said that they had a source inside NBC, and that was the Fates Wide Wheel podcast with hosts Sam and Dennis. So thank you, Sam and Dennis, for confirming this. If you haven't listened to that episode of their show, after you listen to this one, go back and listen to theirs, because they have some pretty good discussion surrounding this character announcement as well. And quite frankly, I don't know if we'd be talking about it had they not confirmed it for us. So
it's great. I was listening to that podcast, and the way they're talking about their source, they call them the Observer.
Yeah.
It's also very cloak and dagger. Like, what's the info?
Right?
Could be worse. It could be Deep Throat.
I have to be honest with you. I am so freaking jealous that they have an inside source. They got the
pretty
scoop.
Cool.
Yeah. But hey, good for them. So maybe for a little while we'll be following their lead. I don't mind being second fiddle as long as we all get to talk about New Quantum Leap. It's all golden. So thanks again, Sam, Dennis. You guys really came through for us here. Yeah.
And thanks to that hashtag show.com.
Yeah, I guess so.
The thing about that, too.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we weren't trying to besmirch that hashtag show.com or anything by doubting them. It's just that, you get used to decades of random information coming forth that doesn't really mean anything. And especially if it just comes from one site that doesn't cite their source, and they didn't, it's very easy to be like, well, this isn't really anything. So now that we have some more stuff to bolster it up, it's really cool to see what's coming out.
Yeah. And, of course, Allison, we would be remiss, you and I. We have to give the biggest props of all to Mr. Matt Dale for his tireless work in compiling all of the credible info. He's got a new website that does all of that. It's quantumleapinfo.net. And Matt, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about how you started that and why you started that and what goes on over there?
Well, you may be aware of a little book that I wrote a few years back that's basically full of text compiled from all over the place with citations all over the place. And I thought, finally, I get to write stuff with little numbers in it again. This is amazing. So it was literally, I started drafting an imaginary sequel to Beyond the Mirror Image on a web page. I just figured that the next couple of months there's going to be a lot of stuff out there and a lot of rumor, and the fans like us are going to be following this, and we'll know what's going on. But there's a lot of casual fans out there who won't be able to pick apart what's rumor, what's not. So I just wanted to have a central point of reference for all the stuff that we know is true. And I held this character list off there until last week. But it's just it was meant to be just a list of all the stuff that other people had uncovered, but then I managed to uncover a few things myself and accidentally did a couple of exclusives. So that's been quite fun too.
Accidentally on purpose.
The Helen Shaver director thing way before anyone else. You were right on top of that one.
Yeah. It was within about 10 minutes of her name appearing on a Canadian website. I was putting it all over Twitter and Facebook. Her and a couple of the other backstage personnel. I've just been spending way too much time on various websites, clicking refresh repeatedly until things update.
You do all the hard work, we reap the benefits.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Helen Shaver, by the way. She's a pretty accomplished director. I'm mostly familiar with her acting, but I loved her in Tremors too. Pretty cool.
I'm not familiar with her at all. Like I've looked through her IMDb and I'm like, there's a lot of very cool stuff here, none of which I've seen. So I have no expectations besides she's clearly very accomplished. So thumbs up. That's all I got.
She's got some cool sci-fi stuff under her belt. So yeah, I think she knows what she's doing. I'm glad that it's a lady director this time around too, because lady directors don't get as many chances, and I think it's really good that they're trying to have a very diverse cast and crew.
And Deadline had a report the other day that she's not only the director, she's also going to be one of the executive producers.
Oh man,
that was something I didn't pick up on. So yeah, she's had a promotion already.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at this, she's busting out all this info.
Right? And doesn't that being an executive producer denote some ongoing involvement? So odds are she might be directing a few episodes of the series if it gets picked up. So seems to me to be a done deal
for that.
Yeah. So, just as a caveat to listeners at home, you might notice that this episode, like the last Reboot episode, is a little bit rough and ready. Because of the time-sensitive nature of this information, we want to get it out to you guys as soon as possible, which means I'm just going to, not edit it as closely as I usually do. So if you hear us talking over each other, we're sorry, but it's a lot of fun this way, too. I listened to the last one, and it wasn't nearly the disaster that I thought it was going to be. I think I spent too much time editing because I'm just, that anal, but...
It's freeing, isn't it? When you're like, you just let it go and you're like, wait, it kind of worked. It kind of worked.
Why do I drive myself nuts? Why am I sitting on these shows for a month now? Because I haven't finished editing them. Nobody cares but me. Anyway.
You do a great job editing. I've listened to some things where people don't edit their podcast so much, and there's some things in there I'm like, you could have cut that maybe.
Well, you know what? I look at it this way. I mean, I always want to bring the best show possible. I always want to highlight my co-host to their best effect because they're both very talented individuals. But at the same time, I also want to get this information to the public as quickly as possible. So it's a trade-off. So we might have some foibles this time. But anyway, let's carry on. Yeah, we'll do our best. And we have... like 4 or 5 main characters and a couple of ancillary characters to go through. And if you guys, why don't we do this like we've done it in the past when we do when we do feedback and we do the round robin? I'll take the first character. Allison, you take the second character, read the description, Matt, and so on. And so on and so on. So, they start off with the main character, who is a Dr. Ben Prasad. Help me to pronounce that. Prassad.
I've been saying it Prasad.
I've been saying Prasad.
Like Supasad. Prasad. Dr. Ben Prasad. Ben is a first-generation American, a world-renowned physicist, and a man of faith. He is also working on Quantum Leap, a time travel project, but when he uses the project on himself, he is transported back into the late 80s and struck with a bout of amnesia, forgetting what made him time travel in the first place. The casting for Ben calls for a man in his mid-30s to early 40s of Asian American or Pacific Island descent or of Middle Eastern North African descent. So obviously right there, they're going for a little bit more diversity than we're used to seeing in Quantum Leap. And I think that's exciting... Go ahead, Matt.
We're doing the interruptions already. Sorry.
I know, right? This is why we did
that. I find it interesting, though, because, we're going for the diversity, but that also seems quite diverse within the casting call. Like, that's quite a wide spread of options.
Basically, they're saying not a white guy again.
That's kind of the phrase I was looking for, Alison. I didn't know if I could get away with that. It's
great because I think it would be such. We talked about it last time. It'd be such a missed opportunity if it was another white guy. I think this is a good opportunity to have someone else walk in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
Obviously, and aside from the casting, let's just go over some of these character traits. Obviously, world-renowned physicist. I mean, that is pretty much a given at this point,
genius.
Since he's going to be heading up the leap. Man of faith. Very interesting. That they put that in there specifically. And once again, when we did fan casting on the last update show, I said Anson Mount. That reminds me of Pike's character in the new season of Discover. What was that? Disco season 2. He said that his father was like a comparative religion teacher or something like that. So he was grounded in, at least some tenets of faith. And then when I read this, I said, oh, Anson Mount again. It's almost tailor-made for him, but they're not looking for his type.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think that it's kind of refreshing in sort of this television landscape that they're going to be re-embracing the more overt aspects of faith that were presented in Quantum Leap, or at least wrestling with them, if not embracing them.
I was... Go ahead, Addison. No, go on.
It's interesting. They're embracing that again. It's, I think, important to note the original show was very Christian based most of the time. Not always, but that's what it was. We don't know what faith exactly.
Yes.
Ben Prasad has. I do like that this is a character who's a scientist and religious or of some sort of faith. There's that great blending together of things there. It kind of makes me think again about Sam's character, though he had obviously he met God and there were some episodes about faith. I don't know if he was exactly a character of faith, because there were times when it seemed like he implied he didn't really know what was going to happen. You know, if he believed in that kind of stuff, he was open to it. So I'm wondering what kind of differences there will be with this new character.
Well, that was what I was thinking about. I'm rewatching the original show at the moment. I'm sure there's a few of us that are. And the first season, they have Sam talking about God quite a bit. I mean, not apart from right hand of God, not massively, but there's certainly lots of references to some kind of belief in a higher spiritual being.
I think he's
and then
kind
again
of
in
open
Honeymoon
to
Express,
everything is the thing. In the first episode, he's talking about reincarnation and stuff. I think when he says God, time, fate, or whatever, he's just it could be that, could be this.
But that drops off quite early into season 2. I mean, it's still there here and there throughout the show, and they have the occasional episodes like Single Drop of Rain, Mirror Image, but those are ones that really highlight the religious aspect. Most episodes, you don't have Sam saying, "Oh, the big guy upstairs changing channels," all that kind of stuff. That's all in the first season. They really established the first season as a heavily Christian-based show, and then sort of drift away from that. And it's really interesting to see, okay, are they going to come back to that a bit and have a character that is spiritual as well as scientific.
Yeah, I just even in the leaps themselves, whenever they even if it wasn't Sam, it was always a Christian faith, whoever he leaped into, whoever he was with. Not always, but most of the time, it was going to be based in that if characters were going to talk about religion at all.
Yes.
Not fan favorites. Thou
shalt not, no.
But I think what is really interesting here is the possibility that we don't have someone who's of Christian faith, especially if it's a Middle Eastern or North African cast actor. You should have someone who's Muslim in that role and explore some of the tenets of that faith, because think of how difficult some of Sam's leaps would have been for him, especially some of the more intimate stuff, if he was a more hardcore practicing Muslim with like very strict religious values that told him what he should and shouldn't do. If they're calling Dr. Prasad here a man of faith, I would love them to play up some of those aspects where it might be a bit thorny for him to walk the line and live the faith that he loves and still do some of the things he has to do in order to leap.
Yeah, I think that would be just really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Now, I know, Matt, you hate when I ask this, but I want to do some fan casting on some of these. And also, before we do the fan casting, though, I mean, do you have any thoughts about this? I know that we're talking about some of the positive aspects, but do you see any sort of negative aspects of the way they're setting up this main character?
There's always the possibility of things seeming a bit too similar. The fact that it's a physicist again, I mean, it could have been anyone leaping. They could have come up with any kind of story. It doesn't necessarily have to be a scientist again, but we don't know anything about his character other than, like, he's a man of faith, he's a physicist, and he's not white. So I guess that remains to be seen, but that's something that could happen.
How about you, Matt? Have you thought of any possible downsides?
Yeah, no, again... Like Allison, I guess, we want to try and steer clear from comparisons to Sam and Al, and it's good that they seem to be doing that for the most part, but we spoke about this before, you need somebody that has a broad background in stuff so that whatever situation he leaps into, he's going to have a chance at knowing what he's doing. So... Yeah, someone with a good science background will help out. And yeah, I'm sure if there's a series off the back of this as the series progresses, we'll find out that he also played piano at Carnegie Hall and all the other things that are necessary.
You know, I like this as an
we
idea.
found are
I'm
necessary for leaping. You have to be a piano virtuoso. You have to be a taekwondo expert. You have to know how to read Egyptian. That always comes in handy.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to... I don't know how they would do that besides, rely heavily on the hologram character whispering in his ear constantly. Yeah,
I'm sure that they don't have to have all of these same... They don't have to have any skills at all. I'm sure this is not what they're going to do. He could be a complete dummy and not know how to do anything. And that would be pretty funny. It just has to be someone, we said this before, that's quick on their toes. It just has to be someone who's able to, like, just go with the flow and improvise. And that could be someone with no particular skills at all other than not dying. Like the observer could be filling in the gaps for that. So they don't necessarily have to have all of the skills that Sam had, and they don't even have to be the same skills. They just have to be useful.
I think the one downfall for this character for me is he's too young. Mid-30s to early 40s doesn't give you a lot to leap back into.
Scott Bakula was mid-30s.
I don't know, but it feels like he should be mid-40s, early 50s. Maybe that's just me projecting what I would like to see.
Could be older, like Sam was. Yeah. Sam was technically older than Scott Bakula.
Yeah. So I just hate the fact that the leapy in this can't leap beyond my lifetime.
Well, we don't necessarily know that, though. Like, I brought up before that, like, they could be leaping within Sam's lifetime. They could do that if they wanted to go further back. I don't know if they will, but there's ways around that if they decided they wanted to do it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I look forward to seeing if they play with that at all, or if they start to play with it as the series progresses. So,
Chris, you've just given me this horrible revelation. Like, I was just thinking, I'm okay with that, though. They'll still be able to go, like, before my lifetime. And then I realised that, no, I'm in my early 40s as well. They can't. I hadn't even realised that, Chris. I was thinking, that's early 40s. That'll take them back to the early 70s, late 60s. No, it won't. We're in the 2020s now.
Yep. Glad to ruin that little aspect of it for you, Matt. Welcome to this side of the line.
I still think I'm 30.
Marching of time.
Yes.
Well, I want to do a little bit of fan casting. I only came up with 2 names, and I don't think that we'll have a chance of seeing either of them, but I was just thinking of people that might fit this description. And Naveen Andrews, who played Saeed in Lost came to mind. And good old Alexander Siddig, or Siddig El-Fadil, who played Bashir in DS9. I don't know if Sid would be the right fit.
He's a little bit older than their
he's a little bit older, and he tends to come off as he can play British. I've seen him play Middle Eastern quite effectively in other things, but I don't know if genre fans are ready to see him as anything else other than Julian. So it'd be interesting.
He was in Game of Thrones and stuff. I think he's had a pretty wide career.
I think genre fans had cause to be concerned about typecasting when Star Trek Enterprise's cast was announced, and we were like, "What? Sam Beckett's going to be in a show set in space that probably is going to involve time travel? What the what?" Yeah, I think we can cope with Siddig. Oh, honestly, Ben Prasad is the only one that I just could not do any fan casting for. I tried and I absolutely failed, but I love that one. I have no idea who the other guy is you're talking about. I haven't seen Lost in years, but Siddig,
Naveen Andrews, he had the long flowing locks. He was very dreamy. He was walking around in a tank top most of the time, and he was dating Charlotte.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking.
That's good too. Yeah.
How about you, Allison? Any fan casting or?
Oh man, I'm gonna be bad at these. I don't know. There's that one guy from.
It's that guy who was in that thing.
The guy from Midnight Mass and the ghost show that came before it. He played the sheriff in it. I don't know the actor's name. He might fit the description. I don't know how old he is though. He was really good in those.
What's the ghost show?
There was Midnight Mass, and then there was the one before it that was Haunting of Bly Manor. I think they're Netflix ghost shows. Gotcha.
Oh, so Midnight Mass is a continuation of that haunting show.
Well, there's 3 shows, and they have the same cast and the same director with similar themes, but they're different things.
Gotcha. So kind of like an American Horror Story.
Yeah, kind of like that. And he was in the second and the third one, and yeah. And anyone who's seen Midnight Mass, the sheriff, it's that guy.
That guy.
Thought he was pretty good in it. Pretty good looking guy, kind of handsome.
Matt and I would go through going, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Okay.
People know who I'm talking about. You know that guy.
There you go.
That's all I got. I'm not going to be very good at these fan casting things.
No worries. No, it's just fun. It's just fun. So, Allison, why don't you take the next character in the roster?
Next up is Addison. Addison is a smart, witty, fearless ex-military operative who now serves as a project lead at Quantum Leap HQ. She's in charge of the technology they use to communicate with the past and tries to rescue Ben from his time-flung existence. QLinfo.net note: Addison is the observer. Parentheses 10. What does parentheses 10 mean?
Parentheses 10 is Fate's Wide Wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's Matt citing his sources.
Yeah.
This is an open ethnicity casting, and it calls for a woman in her 30s. Ooh, you know what this means? You know what it means when they have a lady observer in her 30s, too? They're thinking of a romance.
Yeah,
They're thinking of a romance with Ben and Addison sitting in a tree. Kissing. I am ready for this. I am ready for this ghost-esque separated by time romance. Bring this to me.
They can't hug and kiss. They can't
hug and kiss. They're separated by time.
The slash fiction is writing itself. It's amazing.
Kill me now. I didn't even think of that aspect. Oh, I hate that aspect. Oh, please don't do that.
I love it. If they do it real well, but you gotta earn it. You gotta earn it. That's the thing. I don't like romances that are just shoved in there for no reason. You gotta make me care about these characters. But ooh, I do love that concept. Pretty good.
Well, I mean, we got smart, witty, fearless, and ex-military. So, I mean, that is pretty much Al Calavici. Kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want her to be like...
Probably not a slut, though. I'm guessing. Less of a slut than Al Calavici.
Let's get this equal opportunity sluttiness, okay?
my 7th husband.
They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it exactly like Al. If they did, it would feel too much of a copy. But the thing is,
if she has cigars. If she's chomping on cigars.
Cigars.
No, she has a pipe. She has a meerschaum pipe, like Sherlock Holmes.
I feel like the hologram has to be a little bit quirky, because that's like some of the fun of it, you know? Like, you don't want to have someone too straight-laced. You want 2 straight-laced characters, unless Ben is kind of quirky. Maybe he's a quirky guy, and then Addison's the straight-laced one. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope that whatever it is, she wears crazy future fashions. That's what I want to see. Or present fashions.
Yeah.
I have nothing against the idea of the character at all, as long as there is a good balance between the leaper and the observer. Then the Addison character here is pretty much an open book. I mean, these are all just basic, generic, smart, witty, fearless. The only thing that's
nothing.
Smart, exactly.
Fearless, ex-military operative.
I think ex-military gives the character the opportunity, though, to have an edge. So when I was doing my fan casting, I tried to pick actresses who I think could play the harder side of Addison, as opposed to, say, the quirky side or the witty side, because I want to see the character be a badass as well.
Mm.
So,
I get this kind of like... this gut instinct reaction whenever I see a women character description, smart, witty, fearless, edgy, into this, like, quote, strong female character cliche where it's like they gotta be tough and nothing else. And I'm sure with Quantum Leap, they won't do that. That's always my worry, that it'll be, like, overcompensating. Like, she's a woman, but she's tough. And then, like, that kind of flatness of roles like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that, because I think that I was thinking more along those stereotypical lines when I was doing my casting. Maybe because that's what I'm so used to seeing. Isn't that weird? Wow.
It's not that there aren't well-written female characters who are tough. It's just, I guess that's always what I worry when especially I don't know anything else, and I'm sure they're not going to just do that.
No, you just don't want that to be the default all the time. You don't want it to be, Ripley on steroids.
Yeah, she's like she's a tough nut, Like, I just don't. Anger is the defining character trait.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what they're going to do. Open ethnicity means this could be anyone and anything. And I think that's kind of the idea. I don't think they have a clear idea what they want to do yet.
Yeah, I think when I was doing sort of who am I gonna say I want to see in this role, and I thought of two streaming series. One was on Amazon. It was called Them, and the lead in that was a woman named Deborah I'm not going to say this right. Ayerinde. Deborah Ayerinde. She was the lead character. She was amazing in that. But again, I could see it more on sort of the harder side of the character. For anybody that's not familiar with that show, it's about a black family that moves into a white California neighborhood in the 50s and gets, all of the benefits of good old American racism, and also dealing with a lot of their own heritage and a lot of their own baggage. It was an amazing show. It's only about 15 episodes. If you haven't seen it, I'd say go watch it just for her performance alone. And Allison Pregler's in it, and she's amazing in it. But I just thought that this role would fit Deborah Ayerinde very well. And the other one that I thought of, have either of you watched Altered Carbon on Netflix?
No, Chris, you're cheating by watching modern stuff. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm Googling names as you're saying them so I can look at people and go, oh, yeah, that looks...
The first season of Altered Carbon had a female cop who was like the second lead of the show, and she was amazing. Her name is Martha Higa. I'm not going to say it right again. Higareda, Higareda. And she was terrific in that. And again, it's more of the, tough as nails aspect. But I think that both of them, given the opportunity, could play, any number of different types of scenes with any number of different types of emotions, because they're actors. So,
yes.
Anyway,
I think you're the only one who's got a fan casting idea on this one.
I know, I did sit down and think about a lot of these. So if I feel like if I'm filibustering on them, just let me know, because I really wanted to put some thought into that aspect of it.
Oh, sure. Helps to kind of picture some of it.
On the fan casting side for both the female characters, so for Jen as well. I just got the same name only because I saw her in a play last week, and I fell in love with her, and I was like, oh my God, I need to see you in other stuff. No, but Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I have never seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But
I love her. She's great.
I've not seen her in anything, but she does, or at least what I saw her in, she could fit the bill for Addison really well. But I also do feel like I'm biased because I walked away from that play thinking, I need to see Brooklyn Nine-Nine now because she was so good.
Oh yeah, she's great in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She would be a great leaper too, because I've seen her play lots of different kinds of characters, and she would do different kinds of things. She'd be great. I like that idea.
Yeah, I've seen her in stuff.
So I had her for Addison, but I'd be happy to see her as Janice. I just want to see her in other stuff.
All right. That's a good one. Matt, why don't you take the next... Oh, Allison, I'm sorry. Did you have any fan casting for this character?
Nope.
Okay.
You did
On with the show. Yeah. Matthew Dale.
This fan casting idea was fantastic. Ian Wright, Quantum Leap's non-binary chief architect of the AI program who prefers the company of computers to that of other people. The open ethnicity casting calls for a person in their 20s and encourages non-binary actors to submit.
This is very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. This is the character description that made me think that this was a fake character list.
Same.
It's just because it sounds so like a joke to say non-binary.
Right.
Programmer.
A non-binary computer programmer.
Not because they're non-binary, just the play on words with the programming and all that. This has a good opportunity to be a very quirky kind of character. Could be something interesting. I'm glad that it's this seems to be kind of the Gushy equivalent, but they're doing their own thing. There's the option to expand on something different here.
They seem to be doing more of a Sheldon thing. I definitely saw Sheldon Cooper there, apart from the non-binary aspect.
Can someone is non-binary the same as like asexual or is bisexual? Like what? Or they don't identify as a male or a female? Like what? Can someone define that for me?
Well, non-binary means you don't identify as any gender. It's fluid. Gotcha. Asexual is if you don't have sexual desires. You don't. It's a spectrum, but non-binary is different.
Okay, but it's more to do with gender and the self-perception of gender than it is to do with sexuality.
Yeah, like they would go by they, them.
Gotcha.
Rather than a specific gender.
You know, now that you say that, and the more I thought about this when I found out that this was real, if you're going to introduce a non-binary character, why not make that the Leaper? Doesn't that open up a whole ton of story possibilities?
That's
yes
true.
And no, though. Because I don't know. Because surely part of the enjoyment of seeing Sam leap into a woman was always how uncomfortable Sam was with that. Maybe a non-binary leaper would just be, but maybe a non-binary leaper may just be okay. I have no issue either way, or an equal issue either way. So I don't know.
I just thought it might lead to more compelling story possibilities and a little bit of a different wrinkle than we've seen with Sam being a fish out of water a lot of the time.
Maybe. Here's something to think about. So this programmer is going to be working on Ziggy. I'm presuming it's going to be Ziggy again, since they're working at Sam's project trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, it's got to be Ziggy.
It's got to be Ziggy again.
And Deborah's got to be voicing it.
Oh, yes. Exactly.
I'm putting that out there.
Ziggy is also non-binary, really, or gender fluid, because Ziggy went from being he to she to whatever they decided they were going to say that episode.
Yeah.
So maybe there's sort of a connection there with, like Ian connects to Ziggy in some way.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do find it interesting, and this is the other reason why I thought this didn't read as a real character call. That they've got in one character, they've got the non-binary elements, and although it's not explicitly stated, the hint of some level of autism, both in the same character.
Well,
it's like,
I mean, I guess the fact they prefer a company of computers to that of other people, you kind of get that with programming characters a lot. It's almost kind of a cliche in the genre, but
they could have spread that out a little bit more. But I mean, it'll create a three-dimensional character with you can have more than one character quirk. It just jumped out as a surprise to me.
Yeah, I feel like this will be a small part. I don't feel like this is a character they're going to highlight as much, although there will be important story elements, because obviously the programming is going to come into play.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'll be as important.
I think that since we're probably going to see a lot more of the project here, they needed to really think about how we're going to round out the project cast as opposed to the leap of the week. And this was just one way to do it, because who would you naturally have? And who knows? In the writing, this character might get more or might get less depending on fan reaction, and also depending on what the writers discover they can or can't do with him. Mm-hmm. So...
This has got to be another character who's a genius, too, because they're in their 20s and they're working on a time travel project AI program. Like, it's got to be like another Wonder Kid.
I got to think that anybody at the project is going to be something of a genius if they're on the technical side of it. So I think you got to be. Anyway, I have no clue who I would cast in this. I mean,
can any of us name one non-binary actor?
Exactly. Find someone new is my imperative here.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be someone anyone knows, but be a good
I can
get
name
for
two,
anyone.
but only because of Star Trek. So, I mean, Disco has Ian Alexander and Blue Del Barrio.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is after I stopped watching. But
They join in. Both of them join in season 3.
Okay,
and they're both age appropriate. But I don't know. I'm sure there's many other non-binary actors out there. I just have no idea.
Yeah, I would prefer that they find someone, like discover someone, and make it so that the character isn't just sort of one note. I don't know. This is the problem you have when you have call sheets like this. I know we have a few more characters to go, but I've encountered this when I've tried to synopsize some story ideas that I've had or character ideas that I've had. No matter how you try to nuance it in just these dumb, brief descriptions, it always comes off as trite. There's just no way to give a sense of depth. So that's why you get like weird descriptions like non-binary, doesn't like the company of humans.
Well, I think non-binary is important to the character the same as saying
that was probably
Prasad
a bad example.
What the ethnicity is supposed to be.
Right. And I guess
but they are wide, and I think that's on purpose, because you could see an actor and you're like, I see something here, and take that from them and create this character out of it. The same thing happened on the original show. A lot of stuff from Sam and Al came from Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. So I think you got to kind of leave it open a little bit to what you think might work. It does say they encouraged non-binary actors to submit, not that it's required. And I really hope if that's what they're going to make the character, that it is actually a non-binary actor.
Yeah,
as do I. And I think maybe a better example is saying that Addison is smart, witty, fearless. Like, those are just words on a page. But it really comes down to, okay, does Addison have chemistry with Ben, and how can they explore that relationship? And, with good writing and good chemistry between the actors, like you just got done saying, Allison, they could have something phenomenal on their hands. It just will the lightning strike twice? So, and I said magic. I guess that brings me down.
Well, hang on, just before we move on. Just to that point, I think that the other thing to keep in mind, I know we know this, but just to really underline this is not something that's intended for public consumption. So all that stuff about like the relationship between the characters, if they were writing something to tease us and excite the fans, they may drop some hints about that. But actually, this is for casting agencies to say, this is the height and color and age and weight and all these kind of just the very dull stuff.
Give us all your headshots of people that fit this description.
Exactly. And I'm sure they've got a lot of stuff buzzing around in their head that if they were promoting the show and saying these are who the characters are to the general public, they wouldn't talk about most of this stuff. They'd be talking about other stuff. So, yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't consider that. This is more workmanlike than anything else.
So like you say, it's trite, but it's got to be trite.
You know why they put the non-binary character in there? So that people could go, it's too woke!
Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking.
I was going to try and get through the whole episode without using the word woke.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, none of us think that. That's just what people think when anyone exists outside of straight white people.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that made me think the addition of this character made this casting like suspicious because it seemed custom designed to generate controversy and the negative kind of comments that you get.
Maybe they want that controversy. They're like, bring it.
Exactly.
Bring
like
the
click,
controversy, guys.
But I'm thinking,
Quantum Leap.
If you're going to do clickbait,
all of these things.
If you're going to really engage toxic fandom, then this is tailor-made for that. So it just made me think they're just looking for clicks. They're just looking for people to be angry. But
it's so great they can do stuff like this now. Because like in the 90s, they wouldn't have even you didn't even know what non-binary was in the 90s. You know? So it's cool that this is the perfect evolution of Quantum Leap.
That's great. Well, here we finally have a legacy character. It is Herbert. Everybody knows this by now. Herbert Magic Williams, a Vietnam vet and current head of the time travel project at Quantum Leap. Herbert Magic Williams uses his no-nonsense personality and aura of control to keep the Pentagon at bay while the team tries to rescue Ben. The casting calls for a black man in his 60s. QLinfo.net note. Obviously, this is Magic from the Leap Back Part 2 of Vietnam, or the Leap Home Part 2 of Vietnam. And Matt wisely writes that if Magic was roughly 20 in the original Leap, 1970, on an assumption that the new show is set circa 2025, the character will be around 75 years old by now. Casting may be for someone in their 60s playing older, rather than cast an age-appropriate actor who may find the schedule grueling. Note that the original mirror image for Magic was Christopher Kirby in his first on-screen role. He is an accomplished screen actor now with a long CV. However, he is in his 50s and resides in Australia, so we expect he will not be involved. So that's your speculation, Matt, that he will not be involved?
Yeah, pure speculation. And I mean,
but he has noted he was interested, though.
Yes.
Has he? I was wondering if we had any updates on that because I haven't.
Hayden was in contact with him, and
Hayden.
He messaged him, and he said that he didn't know there was a reboot happening, and he was interested in it, so he was trying to like get in contact with them. So,
that'd
who
be
knows?
Cool.
But he is about 20 years too young, and he doesn't seem to do much outside Australia. Like he's got a long CV, but it's all like the Matrix films that were made in Australia, and kind of American productions that were shot down under.
They're like, we need someone who can do an American accent. We got an American in Australia. Get in here.
Yeah,
but he's got like a pretty good resume. So we know he could do it if he wanted to, if he was going to play older, I guess. But I don't know. The age thing is wonky. It's wonky. This character.
This was the other thing that made me think that this was phony, because of all the legacy characters to tap, Magic just seems like a weird choice age-wise.
I don't know. Maybe they were just looking for who's a memorable military person to fit this kind of role. And the Leap Home Part 2 was a pretty memorable episode. So
true.
Maybe that was the thought. They could have had Tom work in this role if they wanted to.
It's just trolling all the fans that have been saying, we've got to have Sammy Jo back. Sammy Jo is such an important character for the original series. We've got to have her back. I'm like, nope, we're not bringing Sammy Jo back. But remember that guy that appeared in a mirror for 2 seconds?
This leaves it pretty open because, like, we don't know anything about Magic other than apparently he was pretty good at guessing stuff. He was kind of like a good luck charm to them.
Yeah, he had the Sixth Sense, right?
Damn, Magic. My worry about this character is, again, these are all very concise, short descriptions, so who knows? No-nonsense military guy talking about Pentagon stuff. I get extremely bored with very military-heavy plot lines. I know Quantum Leap had a lot of military stuff, but a lot of it wasn't really focused on, let's get the Pentagon out of here, let's get this under control and have lots of guys in suits talking about important things. And I worry about having boring scenes like that.
Yeah, me too.
See, now you went the complete opposite direction because I'm thinking now we can do some deep dive into Quantum Leap lore because Magic could still be connected to Tom in some way since they were platoon mates. Yeah. And you can now get more into getting Sam into the mix because Magic obviously is going to remember, hey, I've been at this project before. So he's coming from the perspective of a Leapee. which
That's
is
true.
it's like blowing my mind. It's just like I can't wait for them to explore some aspects of that because my whole book was about that.
I was going to say this. They better reread your book before they do anything.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want Magic to be like a murderous
let's get
psychopath.
That mud wrestling character in there. What was her name?
Teresa. Tawny.
Teresa, the mud wrestler. Get her in there. She's keeping the Pentagon at bay.
But,
No, this is cool though because this character, even though we didn't know him very well, I think that works to our advantage. It's not really tied to much other than he was a leapee in the waiting room, so he has that connection. So they can come up with some interesting ideas. I think.
Yeah, it's an open book. It's an open book. I just the age is the only thing that threw me on this, but I guess look, they're just going to fudge it, just like they were going to fudge Sammy Joe's age in A Bold Leap Forward.
Why would they
Matt's
fudge it?
guess might be right. It might just be someone playing older.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I think that.
But you're right. I mean, that's part of why I thought that it was fake casting at first because that, along with other stuff, just didn't seem to add up. But I mean, it's not impossible for them to
bring back. It's just so random.
Yeah. Well, I just this is the aspect of the show that I find the most intriguing. So I can't wait to see if and how they play with the former Leapy now come home to roost idea. God. What are the fan casting thoughts on this one? Because I got two.
Go for it, Chris.
Number one, Ernie Hudson. Mr. Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson! Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes!
Yes!
Yes, Ernie Hudson! I have no other thoughts now. Ernie Hudson, get him in here!
And the other one that I think could just absolutely knock it out of the park, but, you know, he's too famous, is Jeffrey Wright. And if you don't know who he is, he played Felix Leiter in the new Bond movies. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's one of those guys.
Yes.
If you saw him, you'd know him, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that he would be phenomenal in it, but I think that they got a much better chance of getting, you know, Ernie Hudson.
How old is Ernie Hudson? He's past his 60s, isn't he?
I think he's in his 60s, maybe early 70s. He's age appropriate.
He's age appropriate, yeah. He could he could be Magic.
Yeah, see, I've just spent the last few months watching Avery Brooks stride around the screen being no-nonsense and militaristic, so I couldn't get anyone other than Avery Brooks out of my head. But yeah,
I don't know if
Westworld. Oh god, yes,
he was in Westworld. Yeah, he was the tech back at the project in Westworld, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
What about the other guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine that was the captain, Captain Holt? Shit, I'm already forgetting his name.
He came up in my research.
Andre Brower?
Yeah, Andre Brower.
Yeah, get him in on there.
Wasn't he in like Law and Order too? Like he did both serious and comedic roles.
He does no-nonsense characters very well, which made it very funny in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But yeah.
I have not seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I have to start watching that because people just say the best things about it.
It's a funny show. Yeah, other than that, I don't really have a lot of ideas. I love the Ernie Hudson idea. It's very good.
Well, you're welcome. So now we'll all be disappointed if it's not Winston Zeddemore.
Also, Audrey Brower, he worked with Scott Bakula in Men of a Certain Age. He was in that show with him.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Yeah. So all we got to do is get Ray Romano back, and you'll have a Men of a Certain Age reunion.
Men of a Certain Age reunion. That's Ray Romano is Addison.
That's when Prasad leaps into Long Island in the 90s. No. Deborah, my mom's coming over. Oh boy.
I saw one episode of Men of a Certain Age, and it's where they were going to get free colonoscopies together. And the whole thing, I was thinking, like, what's this show about? They're just old men scared of death. Like Ray Romano's just like, oh no, death is following me.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch this.
It wasn't a good show. Despite Scott's presence, despite I knew what they were trying to do, but it just wasn't executed very well. So it was Matt. If you want to see like a sad yet quirky take on midlife crisis and post midlife crisis, that's Men of a Certain Age.
Okay. Well, I'm still
Scott
years
Bakula's
away
like
from
kind of a
thinking about
playboy
midlife
in that
crisis.
show, isn't he? He's supposed to be kind of a playboy kind of guy.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyway, I can't wait to see what they do with Magic. Magic is my favorite addition to the cast as a legacy character, and it just opens up all the possibilities. Loving it. This is not by design, but you keep getting all the female characters, Allison. Isn't that funny?
All right, I'll read about the lady.
All right, Jen. She's the head of security at Quantum Leap HQ. Described as quirky but formidable, she makes it her mission to figure out how Ben could have both leapt back in time and erased all evidence of the leap in the future. They have no information on the casting or anything.
No.
I don't know anything about this character, and I don't really know how her character fits into, like, multiple storylines.
Yeah, like head of security, and to figure out how Ben could have both leapt back and erased all evidence of the leap.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Yeah,
this.
Yeah, I don't. So that's a plot element it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense without context. So it's like they're giving up some information there just based on the mission of this character.
Why would the head of security be in charge of this? Is this just a thing she just takes it upon herself to do? Like, I don't know.
Or maybe she's got to be the one to present, like maybe she's serving two masters. Like she's got to tell the committee what's going on. So how could this have happened under your watch, kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess if he erased a bunch of evidence, he must have hacked the systems or something like that. There's the security element there.
Why would he have erased the evidence of the leap, though? He's leaping.
I don't know on this. I don't know. Why are so many people quirky, formidable, but no nonsense? It's just everyone.
Well, you know what? Now, Matt, I can't get your fan casting out of my mind for this because she would be perfect.
It's definitely Beatrice again.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
just both of them.
The look of her and everything like that. But I thought of because I absolutely adore her, is Zazzy Beats from Deadpool and Joker.
Oh my god, Zazzy Beats! I love Zazzy Beats. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, they don't describe an age range or ethnicity or any sort of things.
Okay.
She played Domino.
Yeah.
And she was really funny in that. So I was more picking up the quirky aspect because when I saw quirky, I was thinking they're thinking Zooey Deschanel, they're thinking Manic Pixie Dream Girl bullshit, and God, I hope they don't go that route.
Well, if she's head of security, I imagine they're going to have a little bit of edge. She could probably kick some ass if she's head of security.
Zooey Deschanel's not the head of security type. The adorkable thing just doesn't work for
security.
When I just see quirky, it's just shorthand for, nerd girl. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the head of security, but first I'm going to do a little dance in my underwear. I'm the perfect woman.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I don't know on this one. Confusing character description.
Yeah, this one confuses the hell out of me.
Head scratcher.
We'll see. We'll see where Jen falls into all of this.
All right, Matt. What's the next one?
We have some additional guest stars.
We're on to the additional guest stars. Janice, a mysterious woman who was working with Ben in the present before his leap through time, whose true motives remain unknown. The role is described as a recurring guest spot, casting a white woman in her 40s. Sadly, a little bit too young for Renee Coleman. Because that would have been mine.
Can I tell you? Yeah, because that's all I have written down, Renee Coleman. Because it's obviously Aaliyah.
You know what? I'm gonna take it in a different direction. I think it's Sam. I think it's Sam in disguise. I think he's leaped in to help them out. That's what I think.
And you think they'll actually cast Scott Bakula in a wig?
And they don't know it's him. Like,
and they hope the audience don't realise.
It's me, Janice. Let's go leaping. Is Donna around? If she finds me, I'm going to get hit in the head with a frying pan.
So, according to the
Donna just showed up and she's like, Sam, you idiot. What have you been doing for the last 30 years? I've been waiting around here. Oh, boy.
I don't know what they're doing with this. If it's not an evil
I think
leaper,
both of these guesses are pretty on the money. I think it's going to be one or the other.
What? It's either going to be
Sam or Leah.
Or Leah. Okay.
I think whoever it is has leaped into them. I think Janice is a disguise of some sort, a leaping aura.
But if,
all right.
But if that's the case, why does it matter that she's white? Like, you would have thought this would be an open ethnicity casting. If it's a leapy and we're seeing the aura, it doesn't actually matter. The age might matter in terms of relationship with the characters. But this should be an open ethnicity casting if it's a leapy. So I just preferred it was Renee Coleman just walking around being like, no one knows who I am.
Well, I know that
I hope we get to see Aaliyah again, no matter what. I want to know more about the evil leapers.
Yeah, I mean they're part of the canon, so everything is fair game, and it would be pretty cool to see it, depending on how they did it. But again, that's the caveat for all of this, depending on how they do it. But
sure.
On Fate's Wide Wheel, Matt, you noted that they described this as a very meaningful character, and I know I listened to that entire show, but I can't remember if they gave any more context than that.
No, that's all they're sharing at the moment.
Gotcha, because I know you guys know more
know something
over there with your scoops.
How old would Sammy Jo be at this point? When was she born? 70-something?
She'd be as old as Magic.
Really?
No, I don't know. I don't know when Sammy. I don't know when Trilogy takes place. So
no, because
Trilogy
she was
2
born
was 60s.
Just put Trilogy
50s, 60s, 70s.
Trilogy 3.
I feel like it was the
Quantum
60s in part 2, so she'd be in her 60s, yeah.
Trilogy 3, July 28th, 1978. Sammy Jo was probably around, 9-10 years old in that? Did they give her an age? So
it would be about 9 months after Trilogy 2. Why are you looking up Trilogy 3 and trying to figure it out from there?
Because I don't care.
Trilogy 2 is when she was conceived.
It's 9 months after Trilogy 2.
All right, calm down. All right, calm down, everybody. 66. So she was probably born in 1967, which makes Sammy Jo around 55 years old.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, it makes her 55 now. If we're in 2025, she's hitting 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they said that it's set in present day, so it's not 2025, right?
Well, you said, sir, Matt wrote circa 2025. That's where I'm getting that from. It's all gets confusing with, is it the future from the end of Quantum Leap, or is it our future 30 years? I don't know.
Well, the original press release said 30 years after Sam started leaping, which we know was 1995, hence 2025. But we also know press releases don't give a shit about details, and it's just because
I think they're just rounding.
The people reading it are going to go, I remember that show from 30 years ago.
Either way, in any event, Sammy Jo's not a woman in her 40s.
No.
Yeah, unless they were, again, it was someone playing older or something, but I don't know why they would do that in that particular case.
But if we find out her surname is O-M,
I don't understand what that means.
Sammy Jo.
No, if they did that, that would be the dumbest twist in the history of television. I would hate it. Hate it.
Who played Abigail? Was it Melora Horton?
The older version, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, since Sammy Jo, Abigail looked like Sammy Jo when she was a kid, and then it was the same actress came back to play Sammy Jo. Then it wouldn't stand to reason that...
If they had Melora Horton playing her again, I would like to see Melora Horton. I don't think I would like to see Sammy Jo, but we'll see. We'll see how they did it. I think as far as the setting of the show in the new thing, one of the most confusing things they didn't really need to do in Quantum Leap was set the project in the future from when the show aired, because it was only like 6 or 7 years in the future, but there was all these like things that wouldn't happen in 6 or 7 years. You wouldn't have like all these like advancements like that. Like they could have just set it in 1990 whatever, and then I mean like 1989 when it first premiered, and then just say all of this weird stuff is because it's the project. Like you just say like these are weird project things.
I think they just wanted to give it its own flavor and flair, so that helps build the mythology of the show and the look of the show and gives it credibility because it doesn't have to line up. And I think they kept it in the near future because that way Sam could still leap back into the 50s. You're just fudging around with like four or 5 years.
But it just doesn't make any sense that it would turn into Back to the Future 2 in like 6 or 7 years. It just didn't make any sense. And it made Sam and Al older than they were, so it was a little confusing as to these characters' ages.
But, sci-fi's got to have its people in silver baked potato costumes. And,
it wouldn't be Quantum Leap if anything made any sense. So maybe this new show is just following in the footsteps of the other one. Like, don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, if it's one thing that's we're so much more sticklers for all of this kind of stuff these days because people do nothing but binge watch old shows back to back to back to back. So I think that we're going to have to take a lot of big grains of salt when it comes to the continuity of this reboot because Don doesn't give a shit.
I will be watching these episodes 6 times each to come up with theories as to how they don't contradict the continuity of when he leapt into Midnight Caller and Night Court.
You're doing that to sell books.
Lots of opportunities for headcanons. Ooh.
I'm very excited about that.
Matt, you want to take the last of the guest roles, or did you do Janice?
Yeah, I did Janice.
Oh, then I guess it's me. I do Naomi. A wife attempting to ask her husband for a divorce. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize Ben currently occupies her husband's body. Oh boy. The open ethnicity casting calls for a woman in her late 30s. So what this says to me is that we are going to have normal domestic issues as the main issues for the leap. So
I'm real excited about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really crazy about having a divorce story as the first story, but I guess it's as good as any other, normal quote normal person story type of leap.
Yeah, it's just going to be establishing stuff. It doesn't have to be a big story. I don't imagine it'll be like a crazy thing. It's just like, this is Ben figuring out what's going on. This is the project figuring out what happened.
Yeah.
And, there was some more stuff in the plot details later, but I'm really glad that this is not like he leaps in and there's some big historical event that he's got to stop or something like that. Like, it's just something very solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have no thoughts for casting on this. It could be anybody. I mean, just name.
Wife. An unhappy wife.
Cast me! Anyone who's listening, cast me! I could be wife, lady!
You're not in your late 30s.
Not in late 30s. I could play older. I'm 32. I could play a little older, give me a little gray in my hair or something.
All right, there you
Come
go.
on, guys.
You won't have gray in your hair by the your hair is going to be progressively less gray as you get older.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, Allison Pregler is open. She's open for business. You heard that.
Contact me, casting people. I'm going to be in Canada sometime in the near future.
The Observer from that other podcast, from Fate's Wide Wheel.
Yeah.
If you're listening, spread the word.
Hey, let's face it, if any of us had the chance to go and be a mirror image, we would fly over to Canada straight away.
Oh, hell yeah.
I would hitchhike to Canada. Are you kidding?
If he's going to leap into a British-looking guy in his early 40s, kind of chubby, give me a shout.
Do you know anyone like that?
British-looking.
I think Matt should go over some of these plot details, because these are things that you have harvested for info from the Fate's Wide Wheel and put on
Fate's
your
Wide
site.
Wheel. Once again, thank you, Fate's Wide Wheel, for all of this information.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, this is summarizing them. So like Chris said, if you've not listened to it, do go and listen to it. But it's been out there for a week, so I feel synopsizing their episode is fair game by now. So they pointed out that unlike the original pilot, we're going to see Ben leap into the middle of a historical event in the late 80s. He's not there to change anything about the outcome, but the historical event is the backdrop of the episode. So
speculation.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like a kiss with history, but
when did the Berlin Wall fall?
Ooh, yeah, maybe that's going on.
Was that late 80s? I'm just trying to think of things when I was in, junior, senior in high school. That was late 80s that were, huge events, but I did not pay attention to the news then. So I'm the worst person to ask. So I'm going to go Tiananmen Square or Berlin Wall.
Yeah, I think it's fine having it as a backdrop. I think that's good, as long as it's not just Sam leaping in the middle of David Hasselhoff singing at the Berlin Wall, or Ben leaping into that. I think it should be not the focus of it.
Are we thinking he might leap out of America though? Because I'm figuring if he's going to be leaping into the middle of a historical event that forms the backdrop, it can't just be something that's on TV. And on the other side of the world, I know the Berlin Wall was big, but also, I guess if you're in America in the 80s, there's not much you can do with that as a plot line.
Yeah.
Unless you're actually involved in the politics of it.
It could be like the AIDS crisis. It could be any sort of thing that's like historical, so it doesn't necessarily
what I'm kind of thinking. Something that actually is much more immediate, so they can get away with saying, okay, that's not what he's here for.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be AIDS crisis if he's like, I will stop this. Because that'd be a little hard to try and figure out. But
they never said anything about Naomi. It didn't say that she's an American housewife. It says a wife attempting to ask her husband for a divorce. He could be an attaché to some diplomat, and she could be his wife. She could be the diplomat. Who knows? It could be,
and it could be that it's not necessarily in the United States. And I think this show probably will open things up to other countries and other places, especially if they're it's probably going to be a shorter episode order because that's just how things are now. And the budget might be a little bit better to try and like emulate that sort of thing.
Yeah, give it
a more come back to Britain and do a sequel to Blood Moon.
Yeah, Blood Moon Part 2.
Nothing says worldly history like Blood Moon Part 2. Get Tommy Thompson on the blower, everyone.
I'm sure he'd be super excited at last.
And I guess that it kind of ties into the next point, and we spoke about this already. The heart of this show, and again, I'm just quoting the Fates Wide Wheel guys here, the heart of this show is exactly the same in so many ways. The domestic quality, if you will, of the leaps is going to be something that we continue to see, that these are real people, everyday people. And that's what you were just saying, Chris. Seems
it kind of contradicts what I said, her being like some kind of, you're talking domestic, real, everyday. You think of like a nuclear family.
Yeah, I think what they're saying is it's not going to be like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis kind of stuff. Like they want to see these are people that it's not necessarily big, but everyone's important.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I say nuclear family dynamic, I don't mean the actual episode Nuclear Family. I just mean like the actual technical
the sequel.
Yeah. I am so excited to see if they do any follow-ups to other leaps. Like, I don't think we're going to see Jimmy again, though that would be cool. But I bet we'll see Troy and Belisario in there somewhere. Maybe a Teresa thing.
Yeah, that would be great. She's of perfect age to reprise the role. So, yeah, that would be terrific. Because that's a big... I think another mother... that part with Al and Teresa was... It was Teresa, right?
Yeah, it was Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa. Yeah, I make sure I'm getting that right. But that to me is one of the most endearing pieces of Quantum Leap that I've ever seen, with him singing Inchworm and all of that. So it would give me the feels to bring back that character. Again, we don't have Dean to play off of her anymore, which is a tragedy. But we weren't going to get Dean anyway, so
I think it would be great to just see what's going on with that character, or see what's going on with significant characters from the past and how their lives have changed.
And Troyan has carried her own show, basically. I mean, she's been, a lead actress in a couple of things now.
She can act now, unlike when she was like, 4. However, that's mean. She was doing her best. She was very young, but she actually can act. It wasn't just.
She needed to be adorable, and she was adorable.
That's true. It was a great episode. She was great in it. I'm sorry, Troyan. I know she's listening. Don't, guys, cast me in the show. I didn't mean what I said about Troyan. Sorry.
What's the next point,
you don't always see with child actors them still acting and actually having some ability as adults, because clearly she's being kind of led around. So yeah, anyway, it's just kind of, it's a cool idea to think.
Yeah. Should we move swiftly on?
Do it.
Chris is going to be so happy about this. The project will be shown just as much as the past.
I knew it was going to be. I called that early.
We all figured that this was going to be season 6, just with a 30-year wait.
Yeah.
This is everything season 5 was leading towards.
This worries me a little bit too, though, because on the one hand, yes, I am glad we're seeing more of the project. I want to see more of the project. The fact it's going to be shown just as much as the past, how long are these episodes going to be? Like 40 minutes is like the standard?
Yeah.
Unless it's some sort of streaming thing and it's a little bit longer.
Stuff, I've seen them go, they're usually, the shortest I've seen is like 40 or so minutes. They're usually around 52 minutes to
but
like an hour one.
But this is going to be airing on NBC, right? It's not like a streaming exclusive.
No, this is going to be on Peacock.
It's going to be on Peacock, but is it a Peacock original?
I see this as a Peacock original. That's just what I assumed.
That's what I'm
could
expecting.
Be wrong. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, if they have a little more time, I feel better about it, because at the average length with commercials now, shows are about 40 minutes, and that would just be 20 minutes to tell a Leap story and 20 minutes to tell a project story, and that's just so small.
I would not be surprised if before this pilot airs, maybe they'll do like a Vulcan Hello thing with it, where they air the pilot on NBC proper and say, if you want to see the rest of this new Quantum Leap, here's how you get it. It's on Peacock. Just like they tried to draw people to CBS All Access, which became Paramount Plus when Discovery came out. I don't know.
Either way, whatever length it ends up being, and we're talking about the difference of minutes here, I'm a little sad that we may be seeing less than 30 minutes of historical stuff in every episode. But if the project stuff is really that good, and if they're throwing that much behind it, then it'll be something different.
Yeah, no long scenes of arguing with the Pentagon, please.
Yes.
I don't need long Pentagon arguments.
So yeah,
but if they have cool stuff, like, yeah, it'll be interesting, but I just don't want the leaps to feel rushed. But it may be they're just sort of summarizing the idea, like that the project isn't just like a little side thing, so it might just be whatever is needed at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but their next plot point really points up to it being of equal standing.
Yes. Yeah.
Plot-wise.
It's going to be an ensemble show. Everyone has a pretty heavy role to play, they say. Which, given the fact that you've only got a Leaper and an Observer in the past, but then to bring out the other characters, they would have to have significant time in the present day.
Yeah. So, and anyway, I that's the way I always pictured it, and I feel like I don't think that they could do it any other way in this TV environment, because they require a certain amount of serialization in streaming platforms in the current TV landscape, and the only way to really do that, because Quantum Leap's an anthology show, is to go back and do project stuff and have that be the through line. That gives you the cliffhanger, in addition to the where did Ben leap this week, in addition to the oh boy. So,
but you know what? I just realised with serialization, that means we're not going to have that classic thing we had in the original series, where at the end of every 3 or 4 episodes, he leaps back into Jesse Tyler, ready for a repeat. I actually just realised how much I'm going to miss that. That there's going to be an order to watch these things in, and not like, we got a couple of weeks off. Let's put Colour of Truth in again.
What if they did? And here's just a thought. What if the stuff at the project wasn't like some long ongoing serialization? What if we just saw the stuff that Al talked about, that kind of thing? Like, it'd be like, oh no, Addison's boyfriend's cheating on her with Ian, and then you got like there's an office party going on, and Deborah and coding or whatever. Like, it's just like a big shit show, right? The entire Quantum Leap is a big mess, and we just see every week all the dumb things they're doing behind the scenes.
That could be a way to go.
Come on, like, you went to a ball game, Addison? Like, I got things going on. I had tickets. I didn't know you were going to be leaping when I was going to be going to the Lakers game. Now, come on. You got to think about me
Addison.
Sometimes, Ben.
Well, they won't they?
Yeah, they gotta have some humor. Don't have a lot of serious scenes at the project, okay? I want to see
really
this kind of stuff.
You're really worried about this Pentagon argument stuff, aren't you?
I'm super worried. I don't want it to be boring, but I don't know. I just don't know what it is. But you just
want it to be Animal Frat at the project.
Animal Frat. Everyone's sleeping with everyone. There's all a bunch of gossip going on. There's soap opera shenanigans. Magic's walking around with a lamp on his head. This is the kind of stuff the audience demands.
I want to see both versions.
Yes.
And what's this last plot detail, Matt?
Kel Surprise being lost in time is going to be a result of Ben leaping prematurely. So we are going to see him at some point, dressed in all white, and somebody screaming, "Siggy said no, but Ben's leaping!"
I'm just imagining, like, just kind of like Mr. Beans it, right? Like, just walking around, accidentally wanders into the accelerator and gets locked in, like, oh boy.
Oh, now where are we going to fit Rowan Atkinson into this cast? That is what I want to know. That you mentioned Mr. Bean. He's got to be in there somewhere.
It's like Mystery Science Theater. They're like, we need someone to go, we need someone to leap, and we don't really like that guy. The bosses didn't like him, so they sent him through time. They just chuck him in there. See how it goes.
Oh, dear.
I mean, I guess this is significant information. I guess this is why you wrote it down, Matt, and the fact that
I mean, significant.
It's a similar...
Yeah,
it's not like they thought like, it's leaping prematurely. It's not like some accident happened or some other kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of clarifies.
And this is going to, I think, the premature aspect of it, hopefully tie into more of that Jen stuff that is somewhat confusing, because if Ben is leaping prematurely, that denotes some kind of tension between him and the Pentagon, kind of like what Sam was up against, I guess, and so it doesn't lose his funding or whatever. But it means that headcanon is exploding here. What this means to me is Ben is there trying to figure out where Sam went wrong. He's not able to do it, but he doesn't want to give up on it, so he engineers a way that he can leap and get away with it. I don't know what that means. But then it goes wrong because, GTFW reaches in and starts mucking things around again, just like in Genesis. Maybe?
Did not have permission.
Question mark?
Yeah. Fudge things up. Real mess. Everyone decided to end the party early because Ben leaped.
Because Ben would not worry about the retrieval program.
But I guess if Jen's plotline is going to be that she's trying to figure out how he did this and why he did this, I'm guessing the audience will be none the wiser as well, because otherwise we'll just spend every episode hitting our foreheads thinking, come on, Jen, come on, we know this. So I'm hoping there is a little bit of mystery surrounding that still.
Yeah, I mean, is that a question that anyone had? How that worked? Like, that just seems like the premise of the show. That's what's confusing about her description.
Yeah, that's where I'm so intrigued as to how they're going to play that. Like, what is that wrinkle going to be?
Yeah.
And it really does pick up a season 1 conceit with the whole oversight and the committee and everything that they posed as Sam's obstacles to learning about himself that they just let go of as season 2 progressed. Like, you didn't hear about the committee at all past the middle of season 2, maybe even, season 1. They just dropped that entire conceit. And it seems to me like they're picking that ball up again and running with it in this because they need more back at the project intrigue.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway.
When I was first reading the character descriptions, I thought the Naomi description, I didn't realize it was for the leap, and I thought maybe it was like Ben's wife. Like, she's like, oh, I gotta ask for a divorce, and then like, oh boy, he leaped. Can't get him to sign the divorce papers now. Oh, Ben!
That's what Ben was trying to escape. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was trying to escape a divorce he didn't want to deal with. He was hiding out in the accelerator, and then it got turned on, and he's like, beans.
We skimmed over this when we were talking about Naomi. Did we realise that this leaping theory seems to be more on Chris's side? She doesn't realise Ben occupies her husband's body. It's a mind leap into the husband's body.
That's true. But again, is this a wording issue, or is this them deciding that's what it's going to be?
No, I think it's it's shorthand for the casting agencies, but it amused me when I suddenly realised I just glossed over it. And it's a mind leap.
It's a mind leap, everyone. It's a mind leap.
I make no distinction between the two any longer. Is it a mind leap? Yes. Is it a body leap? Sure. Okay. Well, who cares at this point? The answer is always yes. So I'm done arguing. Matt, any other, because you're Matt Dale, and you revel in the geeky stuff. I was looking at all of the information that you have vis-a-vis the production and different details. Is there anything that you find particularly pertinent that we should share that you think deserves to be highlighted? Because I know a lot of it's just a lot of detail about stages and scheduling and stuff like that. I just wanted to get your take on what you think is the takeaway from all that stuff.
Just details about stages? Chris, come on. This stuff's all important.
Listen, I was skimming.
Yeah. No, it's... I'm just saying, details about staging is important. I think the number of square foot that stage has is vital information. No, all right. So I've been getting everything I can. And I guess it depends on your point of view. Like, if you're interested in the creative aspect, we've now got a really good idea of the whole production team. We know the director, Helen Shaver. We know the assistant director, Warren Hanna. We've got all of the producers, hopefully. I think at this point, if there's any more producers, it's going to be too many cooks. But, you know, we know Don and Deborah are involved. We know now Helen has been promoted to executive producer. We've got a line producer. We've got casting directors. We have casting directors, people. Kamala Thomas and Candice Elizinga? Might be pronouncing that wrong. So we have loads of names, which does give you the ability to delve into IMDb profiles and start getting a feel for what they might bring. Honestly, the stage stuff, that fascinates me. It's a fairly new stage they're going to be shooting on. It's only a few years old. Bridge Studios has been around which is where they're filming, has been around for about 30 years. But it's one of their newer stages from a few years ago, and it's a slightly smaller stage than they were shooting on when they finished season 5. But it's all much of a muchness. How they deal with the stage is, I'm sure, very different to how it was back then.
I think the stage will likely be most of the project stuff, which will be standing sets, and then the leaps will be wherever they go on location.
That's the thing. So probably there's going to be, a lot of location stuff. Bridge Studios also has a massive outdoor green screen, which I haven't mentioned on the website. I really must add that. But that's really interesting. I guess they can do outdoor green screen stuff better, like with more natural lighting than the original series was ever able to do.
Is it like one of those AR walls like they use for The Mandalorian and for Discovery and for Strange New Worlds?
Sadly not. It's just basically a one of the stages, one of the sound stages has just a giant green side to it. It's absolutely massive. I don't know what they'd put in there that would put in front of there that would need to be that big, but then I'm not in TV production. I'm sure there's some very obvious things.
You can see a clearly superimposed Ben in front of the Berlin Wall falling. In front of stock footage. Now that they can incorporate him into the stock footage instead of just cutting him
he's
to
just
and from it.
wandering around his feet floating over things.
But it's really cool. Going to I've got a few pictures on my website, but there's also more of the Bridge Studios website. Just browsing around their site and seeing the pictures of all the production offices and thinking, wow, like the producers are going to be sat there any day now, chomping on cigars and doing their producer thing. I don't really
yes, that's exactly what producers do.
So cool. It's just so cool in real time seeing all this stuff come together.
Yeah,
what a great time to be a Quantum Leap fan.
Yeah, so much. And Matt, where can everybody find all of this nitty-gritty that you have so lovingly and ongoingly procured and still procuring?
Yeah, I'm checking back every day. I'm updating most days. It's all at quantumleapinfo.net.
And you're using that beautiful new font.
Yes.
Yes. Oof. So we have our patron. Who the hell was it that gave us that? Hang on a second.
Barry Donovan.
There we go. Okay,
and it's,
thank you. I forgot I'm not editing this. Sorry, Barry.
Yeah. Barry Donovan and his string theory typeface, which is still somewhat in progress. He's not finished it yet, but it does look a lot nicer than Swiss cheesed.
It's beautiful.
You can't see on my header, but it does get rid of the awful R, which I never liked on Swiss cheese, with the pointy bit at the bottom. Which, my Beyond the Mirror Image logo always suffered a bit from that R. So
that's a real W for the R.
Okay, we're getting into the weeds. I'm just going to say, everybody go to quantumleapinfo.net. You'll be able to see that beautiful.
It's got a beautiful banner.
Beautiful
and
banner.
Lots of nice text beneath it.
And
you will find everything there, including some really nitty gritty stuff about Bridge Studios.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And I did see you have like pictures of the stages and everything. It is really neat. So everybody check that out. And if you would like to tell us what you think about all of this latest news on the Quantum Leap reboot, you know what? I was going to go into the feedback, but one more thing I want to discuss, because some people, I wrote that this was a reboot on Facebook. And of course you get the fans that take I'd rather see a continuation than a reboot. No. And I just wrote, this is semantics. Well, it's not. It's like, get over it. We're going to call it a reboot. We're going to call it a sequel. We're going to call it a continuation. It's all the same thing. Okay. So don't get in a twist over that. Okay. Rant over.
Doctor Who came back nearly 20 years ago now, and it was called a reboot back then.
Right.
And, words change over time. But using the word reboot to talk about a show that has been off the air and then comes back and continues is not a new thing. 20 years, people.
Can I suggest something for the name of the new show?
Sure.
Quantum Leap.
Ooh.
Maybe that'll help people know. Oh yeah, it's the sequel then.
Is it going to be the number 2?
It's got to be the number 2. Quantum Leap. That's what I'm going to write it as now. I'm going to say, Quantum Leap. What happened this week?
Well, if you out there would like to give us your idea for the series title, or tell me how I'm wrong that it should be a continuation and not a reboot or a sequel, there are many ways that you can reach us here. You can get us by phone at 707-847-6682. You can email us at quantumleappodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/quantumleappodcast. You can hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at quantumleappod. And you can always go that extra mile and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/quantumleappodcast. Just remember that we may use your response on an upcoming episode of the Quantum Leap podcast. And we are going to have as many more of these special episodes as we possibly can. Whenever some pertinent information comes out, whenever Fate's Wide Wheel breaks a story that we can copy a week later, we will be there. So just keep on listening. We will give you all the reboot news that we possibly can as it becomes available. And as Matt Dale can confirm it, because he's keeping a pretty tight leash on things over there at quantumleapinfo.net. So, guys, again, like you said, Allison, great time to be a Quantum Leap fan.
Yeah.
And, Whew. Anyway, thank you one and all for listening. Until the next breaking news, I have been Christopher DeFilippis.
I've been Allison Pregler.
And I've been Matt Dale.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Quantum Leap podcast, hosted by Allison, Matt, and Chris, with voice talent and contributions from Hayden McQueenie and Zoe Dean. Visit us at quantumleappodcast.com. To support the show, please go to patreon.com/quantumleappodcast. The executive producer of the Quantum Leap podcast is Albert Burge. Christopher DeFilippis and Hayden McQueenie are the co-executive producers. Morgan Felden, Charles Allen Gossard, and Ben Kirkham are the producers. The thoughts expressed on this podcast are those of the individual and do not necessarily represent those of the Quantum Leap podcast, its partners, or affiliates. The Quantum Leap universe and all it contains is the property of Belisarius Productions and Universal Television. The Quantum Leap podcast is not affiliated with Belisarius Productions or Universal Television, and no copyright infringement is intended. Please visit barrenspace.com for this and other amazing content. The Quantum Leap podcast is a Barren Space production.